First, can I get a motion to accept the February 21 meeting minutes as recorded?
Can I do that?
You sure? Go ahead, Bill. Second by Josh. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We do have two presentations today. One of them didn't make it on the agenda, but we'll go ahead and get started with the sheriff's office. We have Under Sheriff McIntosh here with us today. I think. Or should we, I'm sorry, do you want to do that one first?
We can do it however you want to do it.
Okay, sorry, Jason. Okay, first we have on, with Cornell Cooperative Extension, Melissa, Jeanette, and Michelle are here to tell us a little bit about 4-H and the wonderful work that they're doing with youth in Lewis County.
So thank you all. I know Jeanette and I have been working for the better part of a year to work with the 4-H program, work on growing it and ensuring that the opportunities that 4-H youth development has for youth here in Lewis County are available. So one of, among many things we've been doing, our clubs, opportunities, Sparks Club. You'll be hearing a lot about tractor safety in the news. Our latest venture though is the 4-H Welcomes You video. This is a collaborative effort and the product of a lot of hard work and a lot of different things coming together. It does feature a lot of our own youth in the video, and it's designed as a tool to help not only recruit youth, but also recruit adult volunteers to the program. So I'm gonna let the video play and let you view it.
Lewis County 4-H welcomes you. 4-H is a community of young people aged 5 to 18 who are growing their own skills with the goal of putting them to use in their homes, schools, and their communities through activities and projects that are interesting, relatable, and exciting. 4-H is the nation's leading youth development organization that uses hands-on learning and youth-driven experiences to empower youth to be capable, confident, and caring leaders in their communities. Using research-based curriculum, positive youth development is facilitated by volunteers and staff through hands-on learning. Each of the 4-H's represent important aspects of youth development. The 4-H's are HEAD, which stands for Learning, Decision-Making, and Critical Thinking. HEART, which stands for Compassion, Caring, and Empathy. HANDS are for Service, helping others and making the community and world a better place through actively participating in service activities. Health is for health, as a person, family, and community. 4-H members can have a wide variety of experiences based on their interests, age, and club. There are a wide range of topics, projects, and activities that youth can engage in. Subject areas include agriculture, sewing, STEAM, animal science, leadership, public speaking, fine arts, wood science, veterinary science, photography, and so much more. Youth engage in hands-on learning with the support of adult volunteers. Because of the hands-on experiences that 4-H offers, youth can find their strengths and explore the areas that excite them. 4-H can be described in many ways, including educational, active, skill building, but above all, it is fun. 4-H is a community where youth can grow, make friends, engage in projects that are exciting, and feel a sense of belonging. 4-H is a community of young people that support and encourage each other, fostering lifelong friendships. Each youth can make their own adventure, while also engaging with clubs, teams, and groups. As a result, each youth has a unique experience. Does 4-H sound like fun to you? Please contact 4-H in Lewis County at 315-376-5270. Our staff will help you to enroll and connect. Lewis County 4-H invites you to join in the fun. Cole, he's my miracle child.
So, to close, you should expect to see this video on our website. It's obviously on YouTube, social media, and we'll have it out at our events. Feel free to pass it along, share with your friends, and we look forward to inviting you folks into the fold. We already are excited that we have really 3 new clubs in the last year, and we're growing, so really excited.
Did you do that locally?
So we filmed the video actually at the state fair. We just couldn't get the dates to align with the company who helped us make it look nice to get that done during our fair, but we went down to the state fair and actually filmed down there.
Okay. Were any of our local youth in there?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
well, they try to focus around our youth at the fair, so that our youth are available in the video.
Great.
So the kids can recognize each other, family members can recognize people, like, I know them, hey, that looks like something I.
Right, it gives them a connection, doesn't it? Yeah. Good job. Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
If you see the video, share it on Facebook or whatever, whatever you use. Get the word out. All right, next we have the Sheriff's Office, Under Sheriff McIntosh.
Hello, everybody. So this is just a real quick overview of our office and the personnel that we have there. So Sheriff's Office is divided up into 3 divisions. You have corrections and dispatch. You have the road patrol, law enforcement side, and you also have civil, okay? The corrections side, when at full staff, corrections has a total of 38 sworn peace officers and 5 civilian employees. The 19 full-time correction officers and 6 part-time correction officers, basically, they maintain the jail, all right? Then you have your dispatchers. We have 9 full-time dispatchers and 4 part-time dispatchers. And they are the ones that are doing answering the phones, the 911 dispatch. They also assist the jail with rated communications, opening doors, frisking inmates coming in, stuff like that. All right? Now, the civilian employees that work on the correction side, you have 1 jail nurse, you have 1 jail cook manager who works full-time, you have 2 jail cook part-time, and then you have 1 911 operators coordinator, which is sheriff's job, okay? Now, the cooks, they basically work 10-hour days, okay? So they work 4 10-hour days. So the full-time cook manager, she'll work Monday through Thursday, and then part-time ones, they'll make up Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, okay? The reason they work 10-hour days is so they're there for every meal. So you have somebody overseeing that meal. Years ago, the inmates used to cook the breakfast, and obviously, you can see there's going to be a problem with that. Somewhere's down the road. So, correction officers. Basically, a peace officer training takes about 10 weeks. And the training has to be approved by the Office of Public Safety. Once hired, the Sheriff's Office has 1 year to send them to an OPS-approved Peace Officer Academy. Okay? It can go beyond that year, but you have to make a request to corrections for them to extend it. After successful completion of the academy, they must annually recertify with their firearms, pepper spray, and Article 35. Now, we're required by the state to do it once, we do it twice. We do it every 6 months.
So I have a quick question. Do other counties where they're dispatch, they're not doing corrections, are they considered peace officers or no? Just
No.
because we have that unique.
Yes, because our dispatch center is located inside the correctional facility, and they have to be peace officer certified.
Gotcha, okay.
Because our jail is overseen by the State Commission of Corrections, so that's what they mandate.
What's that Article 35?
Use of force. That's basically, it's putting hands on people or using deadly physical force or the different levels. That's what Article 35 is.
Okay.
It's the state telling you this is what you can do and how you can utilize it. Make sense?
Yep.
Any other questions? So the road patrol. When we're at full staff, the road patrol has a total of 28 sworn peace officers and 1 civilian employee. The civilian employee, that's Nikki, all right? Yes, kind of runs all the finances, takes care of the sheriff. And you have 21 full-time police officers, okay? 16 uniformed police officers. So we got 21 full-time people. Out of those 21 full-time, we have 16 that wear a uniform. And myself and the sheriff are included in that 16. So we have a total of 14 uniformed officers that are actually assigned to the road patrol, okay? Those are the guys you see out there riding around in the cars. Then we have 2 investigators. We have 3 school resource officers, all right? So then we have 4 part-time police officers, deputy sheriffs. 1 we have assigned that he's plain clothes and he does pistol permits because we said we've been having such a flood of those for the past 3 or 4 years. So that's what he does. And then we have 3 uniform. Then we have what we call temporary officers. They're also known as seasonal. Those are the officers that we utilize to assist us with doing parks and rec. Okay? Police officer training, when you include their field training and their school, the academy, you're looking at about 29 weeks from start to finish before they're certified. And once again, that is approved by the Office of Public Safety. So they mandate what's required in that academy, and the certification comes from them. Once hired, once again, the sheriff has 1 year to send them to an OPS-approved police officer academy. Luckily, Watertown PD, they usually put one on once a year, so we've been able to send them there. We have sent them to different parts of the state, but, you know, fortunately, Watertown's been doing them every year. After successful completion of the academy, they must annually recertify with firearms, and Article 35, they're also required to biannually recertify with a breath analysis instrument. Some people have some different certifications that do need you have to recertify in. Years ago, when we did radar, you had to recertify in radar, but they actually stopped that. They said, once you're certified, you're good. Those are your 2 primary ones that you have to recertify.
With the breath analysis instruments, are those changing quite a bit? Is that part of the reason you have to do it twice a year? Or?
No, they've been pretty consistent for, I would say, probably the last 10 years.
Okay.
You know, so that's through public health. I don't know why they said 2 years.
I think you said in the past that in any given time, there's 2 guys on road patrol, 2 people.
Yeah. Yes, we have a minimum standard of 2 people for the road. Generally, we have 3, 1 being a sergeant, but I would say probably about 60% of the time, it's 2 people. You know, because when you count for vacations, sick time, you know, miscellaneous training, stuff like that. So we generally run about 2 people a shift. The jail, that's mandated at 4. Once again, that's set by the state. So we have 4 in the jail, and we have 2 in dispatch.
What is the road patrol shift? How long?
It's 12 hours. The whole office is all 12 hours except for administration and, like I say, the civilian employees.
And you're like 4 hours?
Yeah. All right, so then we're getting into the third one, the civil department. So when at full staff, civil department has a total of 1 sworn police officer and 2 part-time civilian employees. So you got your 1 sworn police officer, which generally is a road officer that is taking that over. And then you have a part-time civilian employee that basically covers for him when he's not there. So if he's sick or if he's off on vacation or a personal day, then we contact this person to come in. Their title is civil clerk. And like I said, that's a civilian. And then the other civilian one is part-time civilian employee to serve civil papers. The title is civil process server. And he usually comes in like 2 or 3 times a week and he'll go and serve like family court paperwork, stuff along that lines. Any questions on that?
We just had a retirement, one of the part-timers, right? You're anticipating it?
What's that now?
You're anticipating it,
Yes.
you just had a retirement?
We're anticipating it, yeah. Yeah, so. Anything else? Questions?
Are there any incidences where the civilian employee serves their civil papers and you have to have an officer
Eviction
assist?
The evictions are done by the full-time guy. The part-time guy, he just does all the run-of-the-mill stuff. If it involves a law enforcement officer to go do that, like say evictions or order protection, service of that, that's done by a police officer. Also, the road officers also help out with this stuff too.
This is just out of curiosity question.
Yeah.
So don't take it personal, but when the renovations are gonna be done in the jail, what happens to the corrections officers?
Well, we plan on doing a lot of training with them and trying to get caught up on everything or get ahead of the game with them. Some of them we're hoping to send to some supervisor schools. We're also trying to get all of our first aid, CPR, get that done. Whatever else we can fit in during that time. So, and if they're not training, then they will be cleaning and going through stuff. And if they're not doing that, then hopefully they will be off on vacation, get caught up on their vacation.
Okay.
So I have a question. If you have 2 cars on per shift, are they scattered around the county or are they?
What they do is
Stationary?
No, the county is divided up into, our office is divided up into 4 different zones. So the north zones would be 1 and 2, the south zones would be 3 and 4. So with ideally, they should be covering those areas, okay? So like the north car should be covering, anywhere from Copenhagen to Harrisville to Krogan on down through. And then the south car, once again, they should be covering Port Lyden, Seaville, stuff like that. When I was working the road, what I do is I make a great big huge loop. I would go up 177, I'd go down 194 to Copenhagen, I would swing over, go up to Harrisville, come back around, Ideally, that's what they should be doing, But it can go down where for example, if they have like one major arrest and it's gonna take them all day, that car won't be there. It'll be dealing with that process. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Jason, is this available? Can you send us an email with this as a hard copy?
Sure, would you do that for
A lot of information
me?
there.
Sure.
Well, thank you very much. That's very helpful. We move on to our dockets for the day.
The first docket is authorizing renewal extension of lease agreement between the County of Lewis and Cornell Property Extension of Lewis County in a monthly amount of $2,450 commencing February 1st, 2023 through January 31st, 2024.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Second one is support of amending the vehicle and traffic law to raise the maximum weight for all terrain vehicles to include side-by-sides and UTVs.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Authorizing change orders to the agreements with Betty and Crane and E&I for the Highway Garage Facilities Improvement Project for the purchase and installation of guide rails along the new highway garage entrance on Route 812 as required by the DOT at a cost of $40,683. And the purchase of equipment and installation required for adding AC to the mezzanine in the new highway building at a cost of $23,064.
Any discussion? Fine, I didn't know if you wanted to.
Sure.
Legislative go this day. Could we just go back to the ATV one?
Sure, we'll go back to the ATV.
Okay. This is the first draft resolution. We amended this one, and we are requesting that the weight be increased to 2,000 pounds, not 1,800 pounds. So we can make that correction.
Why?
It's consistent with what we put in our local law when we amended our ATVs, and most of the UTVs are at least 2,000 pounds.
So there was a motion that was passed at this point. Would anybody like to make a motion to amend it to reflect the 2,000 pounds? Made by Josh, second by Dick. Any discussion?
I just mentioned one thing. We now have a Democratic sponsor for that resolution, so he's not on the Transportation Committee. At least it's Democratic sponsor, and maybe we'll get some movement with that.
All in favor, say aye to the amendment.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. That one carries. So Ryan, do you want to go ahead and
Sure.
do the change order?
So we've got two change orders for the project. The first is for air conditioning and HVAC to be added to the mezzanine section of the highway garage, the new highway garage. When we originally designed that building, we were going to have an open mezzanine. And throughout the design and construction process, we've decided that the wise thing to do would be to wall that area in so that it could be in the future turned into potentially a sign shop or more offices, or really just a space that has more utility than an open mezzanine. By virtue of making that decision to wall it in, we need to extend the HVAC into that area so that there's airflow, particularly for the air conditioning. So that is the first order change order for $23,000.
Question. Are there any lights, fixtures, switches, outlet power needed for the same thing? Or
I'm sure there is. I think the minimal, so the change orders that are going in front of the board for this committee are things over $20,000.
right, so that we have
So-
that smaller.
I think we've had to make those other changes. Nick, do you know the exact cost?
There was power, it was like $1,700 to buy power for that unit, somewhere from that range.
Thank you.
So is the guardrail, is that gonna solve our problems with 812 then, where we're at right now, or? I don't even know.
That's just getting it.
God willing.
Standards.
Yeah, so the second change order is for the guardrails. So you'll recall that we had to create a new entrance off Bay 12 for the highway garage. And state DOT has had their finger on the specifications of that new entrance. And one of the things they're requiring is that all the guardrail along that section be replaced. And so that's going to be at the county cost. So that's what the second change order for $40,000 is for that guardrail. So we will be beginning the DOT work in the next few weeks. In fact, we'll have to have an engineer on site. The DOT is requiring us to have an engineer on site every day. We're working on an agreement with CNS for that. I mean, it'll be earthwork, but as far as the DOT is concerned, we do have the permit at this point. So as long as we follow their requirements, then we should be able to move forward.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We will move on to our motions.
The first motion is to award the striping bid to Seneca Pavement Markings in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024.
Can I get someone to make that motion? Okay.
I'm just curious how much it was, Tim. How much was the striker?
How much was it?
It's by the foot, so like, you mean, how much we spent total or?
Yeah.
About 75,000.
Okay. Thanks.
Do we have a second? Second, by Andrea. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The next one is to award hot asphalt mix based on project location in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2023 to March 31st, 2023.
Someone make that motion.
Yep.
Who's mistaken?
It should be March 31st, 2024.
24. Oh, okay. That would, right, that would make sense, so. Can I get someone to make that motion in reflecting 2024 instead of 2023?
Yes.
By Phil, second by Andrea. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
The last one is to award bids for liquid bituminous to Midland Asphalt Materials, Vestal Asphalt, Suitco, and Gorman Brothers for reprofiling, filling cracks, and quick set slurry seal to Suitco and Gorman Brothers, and for micro surfacing to Suitco, all in accordance with the tabulation of all bids prepared by the highway superintendent and placed on file with the clerk of the board for the period of April 1st, 2023 through March 31st, 2024.
Can I get someone to make that motion? Second by Dick. Any discussion? You should have been here, Josh, when we were asking what bituminous means, because I think maybe you could have told us. We figured it out, so without your help this time. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We don't have anything for executive session. The department reports, of course, are in your packet for your review. Thank you to all the departments for working on getting those to us. If there's no other business to bring up right now, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Made by Josh. Made by Andrea. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.
Don't show any report.
and Human Services needs to order. I would like a motion to approve the January 17th, 2023 and the February 21st, 2023 committee meetings. If I could get a second. Okay. Then, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Carries. Okay, for presentations, we first have Anna Platts from Public Health, discuss the wellness committee. Gotcha. Sure. Had a schedule today. That's nice. Cluster.
Okay. All right. Okay, thanks for having me, everyone. So I'm here today to talk about the county's wellness team, the past, the present, and our future. I'm a representative of the wellness team. There are several others that represent various county departments, but we're always looking for more representation, so shameless plug there to start. Okay, so our wellness team was established in May of 2017. This was as a result of that year's public health, community health assessment and improvement plan. This fact may sound similar because it has not changed, but since 2017, and it continues to be now, that Lewis County's adult and childhood obesity rates far exceed the statewide averages, as well as our partners in the Tri-County region. If you add in overweight, include overweight adults as well as obese, that percentage skyrockets. And in that cycle, so that last community health improvement plan, we identified developing various worksite wellness committees and initiatives throughout the county as an intervention to address those adult obesity rates. You may be wondering why worksite wellness, and you can look no further than social determinants of health. So those are the conditions and the environments where people are born, live, learn, work, emphasis on work here, play, worship, and age that affect a wide range of health, functioning, and quality of life outcomes and risks. So as you all know, work influences many aspects of life that affect health, including income, workplace hazards, social status, healthcare access, housing, economic security, and much, much more. Worksite wellness programs can simultaneously improve the health of employees while also reducing healthcare costs for employers and employees. So when this committee formed in May of 2017, we had some big picture goals. Those included improving access to healthy foods and beverages throughout the workday, encouraging employees to be physically active during the workday, creating a supportive environment for them to engage in healthy behaviors, developing and implementing wellness activities across all of Lewis County employment locations, and establishing a communication plan for how we were going to get these messages or opportunities to employees wherever they are. Ooh, the formatting of this is not great. This looks different on my computer. So here's just a little snapshot of some of the different initiatives that we've done over the course of the last several years since the committee was established in 2017. Everything from regular newsletter to doing physical activity challenges. We played kickball in Veterans Park for a couple very nice weeks and then a couple very snowy, rainy weeks. That was interesting.
Courthouse team.
Yes, the courthouse team, as always, did very well.
Not old, it's even terrible.
More to come on that. Room for improvement there. We've done step challenges, healthy eating, and different kinds of challenges. We met up at the Boilermaker for those county employees who participated, took group photo. That was fun. And then on the next couple slides, I'm going to highlight some of our most successful initiatives. That include fridge finds, the Lewis County Community Cup, the Breath of Fresh Air Challenge, and the launch of Snack Chats. which you'll see more about in a minute. You'll also notice a little pause in 2020, 2021, 2022. Much of the work of the Wellness Committee was put on pause during the pandemic. A representative for public health has historically led the wellness team here at the county, and we were busy doing some other things during that time period, but we are proud to report that we did do a couple different initiatives during that time. They were just not as many as typical, but that's okay. So the Breath of Fresh Air Challenge, this was one of our pandemic activities. So this was launched very early in the pandemic when we were encouraging employees to social distance, but we also wanted them to stay active and engaged with each other. This is when we started to phase in, some people working from home, having various hours, so we could stay safe as much as we could. We launched a private Lewis County Employee Wellness Facebook group, and we encouraged employees to join the group and then post pictures of them doing their different wellness-related activities, whether it be healthy eating or physical activity oriented. This got a great response, and people were very engaged, almost maybe too engaged, but we
Doing
had
wellness activities during hours that were.
Working hours.
But it was
everybody.
very successful.
Everybody gets a lunch break, and they really took advantage of that and got their fresh air. If this will play, it's the demonstration.
Whoa.
No
Bill, when you're
sound.
here-
What are you saying? I need to know what the
Oh.
words were.
Bill.
All right,
When you're
let's
here-
go back.
Okay, but how many times does it take?
One shot,
All
baby.
right, let's see.
One take.
Here we go. Maybe.
Too bad.
See it again.
Oh, God.
Fresh air.
Very sad.
One more time. We could see what.
Oops.
How many takes did
How many
that?
Really shot.
One
Guys.
shot, baby.
Yeah.
One take cliche, that's what they call it.
Yeah, we imagine.
But no, we did get.
After 2 days, full half hour.
Right?
That after 2 days of practice.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of comments on that post about the same thing you guys are asking.
Oh, keep pointing, and you're puffing them all up.
Let's see. Okay. But no, that was really fun, and it was, we actually really haven't utilized that Facebook page since that challenge, and that's something we're considering going back to, because it was really neat to see, wellness looks different for everyone, to see what it means to them and how they did it, how they incorporated their families into it, and it was also a great way for people to stay connected when they weren't physically together. Another very successful initiative of the wellness teams was fridge finds. So this was brainstormed as a way to make it as easy as possible for employees to have a healthy and nutritious lunch or snack. We kind of based this on like a local vending machine style. And so this took a lot of coordination, but essentially we worked with various community partners. So Salad Advantage, that's Rebecca Zayre's business, Lalvo Producers, Black River Valley Natural, and then we ended up rotating, working with Get It and Go, Jebs, and PB&J, and we would come up with a weekly menu. So there'd be a lunch item. So you'll see on this example, there's this Italian antipasto salad. It's the picture in the top right. Protein packs and cream lime milk from a local producer. And we arranged for all of these to be delivered at various county sites. So the producers or businesses delivered to DSS when they were up on Stowe Street. They delivered to the courthouse here, and they delivered to us at the hospital. And we did have some deliveries for a bit at the highway department, but then we realized that this was not the right activity for there. They just come and go too much, but we would like to make something similar work there in the future. But this was super successful. People really loved it. They look forward to the weekly offerings. And it was also a great way to promote and work with our local businesses. They were super accommodating, especially Get It and Go. We were really sorry to see them close, but it was a great opportunity to have lunch or a snack brought on site. And we had so many ideas come from this. Unfortunately, when the momentum with this program was at its peak, the pandemic hit and we weren't able to keep it going, but we had a really successful stretch and people really liked it. We sent out weekly emails notifying people of the upcoming next week's menu. They placed their order and then it was delivered in a conveniently located fridge near them. The Community Cup is another one of our most successful initiatives. So this has happened on an annual basis. We're heading into our 5th year. This is based largely off of the Jefferson County Community Cup, which is very similar, but we essentially solicit various Lewis County employers to put together a team and then compete against each other in a multi-day, multi-sport competition. So see the various events up there. Jean shorts are not required to participate, but you'll see some proud representatives of that up
That
here.
was just a regular fist bump, nothing suspicious going on.
But this is really fun. So we've had Lewis County Government, Lewis County Health System, Beaver River Central School, Lowville, South Lewis, and Otis participate over the last 5 years. And each year we hope to add additional businesses. We compete at various locations. We go to the bowling alley, we go to Lowville School, Beaver River School. Some events are at Veterans Park. And then the closing ceremonies is at the fairgrounds. And we're really proud that we can offer this event to any employer or businesses, and there's no admission fee, so to speak, no registration fee. We get a lot of really generous donations of people's time and resources, and the county has financially supported just a couple of things, like we have to pay for insurance at Veterans Park, and we have to pay for someone to lead trivia, but the overhead cost is very minimal due to some very generous people and all of those locations that let us use their facilities for no charge. And it's very fun. Some of you I know participated last year, and if you'd like to participate this year, there'll be information coming out about it soon. It's the week following Memorial Day, so save the date if you haven't already. It's a lot of fun. Our newest initiative is Snack Chats. So this fall, we administered a countywide wellness survey. We got some really great responses. We had over 90 responses from employees. And one of the messages that came through loud and clear was that employees need to take a break. Many people are working through their lunches or the breaks that they are allotted. So to address this, the wellness team created Snack Chats, or a special time set aside during the workday that is not on someone's lunch hour, to promote health and happiness at work. And during that time, the wellness team provided snacks. So we held our first session at the end of 2022. Dr. Lee Vance came in to talk about burnout, ended up being the topic. And they were well attended. It was a busy time of year, being really the week before Christmas, but it was really successful. We got some really good feedback. So we're planning for quarterly snack chats in 2023. These have been held at various locations. So we had one here at the courthouse, one down in Glenfield, and then one at Public Health.
Are we expecting our wellness committee volunteers to pay for bringing snacks?
No, so we have a very small budget, which you will see at the end of, or somewhere in this presentation, and we use our budget to purchase the snacks. We're working on, our next topic is going to be Megan Krager Dahlhoff, is going to come in and do meal planning and preparation, so that will be fun. So after our kind of extended pause during the pandemic, we regrouped and are trying to rebrand and look at ourselves more as a wellness team rather than committee. We're hoping that using the word team instead of committee also maybe helps us get more people to the table. But our mission is to foster a workplace that supports anyone's desire to make healthy lifestyle choices, and our vision is employee physical and mental well-being. Here is our budget over the course of the last couple of years. We've grown quite a bit, but we also started very small. We did not initially have a budget for the wellness committee when we started out, and that was okay. We were gradually able to add some funding thanks to the generosity of the county, and those funds were used to support initiatives like Community Cup and Fridge Finds. We offered some incentives and awards for participation in the Breath of Fresh Air Challenge. Again, used some of it for overhead costs for the Community Cup. In 2022, we actually purchased some recreation equipment that is being used at Glenfield School. They have that gymnasium, as I know you're all aware, and so we purchased some equipment that could be set up there temporarily and also twofold be used for the Community Cup because some equipment is required there, and it's a little easier to have our own equipment instead of trying to coordinate from everybody.
So can I just make a note here? So we've got our wellness spend up to $5,000 for this year. Compare that to our health insurance spend, which between county premiums and employee premiums will be over $15 million. So, you know, we keep talking about how we need to invest in our employees' wellness. 5,000 is a start, but it's not really going to put a dent in that health care spend, right?
Are you saying that Anna should get $15 million for the wellness team?
No.
No, okay.
I'm saying that we need to continue to build this, that the 5,000 in context is probably not enough for where we're headed.
What a great segue into my next slide. So 2023 goals. Thank you, Ryan. That is very true. So 2023 goals for the wellness team is number one, a healthy and productive workforce. Number two, to continue our quarterly Snapchats. Number three, to collaborate with Lee Vance, who is the county's new EAP provider. More on that in a second. We're planning for the 5th annual Lewis County Community Cup. And our goals for this year include opening up the following incentives to all employees, regardless of their insurance status. So if you are not already aware, if you opt in to the county insurance, you are eligible for a severely reduced annual gym membership at either Double Play or the YMCA. The county will cover up to 70% of an annual gym membership, up to $200. And that makes it only cost $57 per employee for an annual gym membership. But that incentive is currently only available to those who opt into the county's health insurance plan. Another incentive, especially for those, it should be everybody, but as far as information is power. So annually, people come on site to do the biometric screenings. There is an incentive for those who are, again, currently on the county's insurance plan to participate in those screenings. They go through a comprehensive but not overly involved screening process where they learn some really good, just basic health information from your cholesterol levels to your heart rate and testing your blood sugar and things like that. And if you opt into the county's health insurance, you receive a free premium subscription to the Calm app. So that's an app that has various like mindfulness and guided meditation and different more mental health related resources. So our goals as the wellness team this year are not only to have employees fully utilize those who currently opt into the insurance plan fully utilize those, but also open that up to all employees. Because again, every employee of Lewis County government and the hospital contributes to the productivity and the workplace health and happiness, regardless of their insurance status. So I've broken down some of the costs, what that would be if we are to make this available, but our goal is kind of to start here, try to fully utilize some of these incentives that are already readily available to employees, and then starting next year, look at, or after hopefully implementing these programs, look to implement a more comprehensive incentive program.
How is the gym membership monitored, or isn't there any?
So at this point, so we've done it a couple different ways. One year, we actually had Double Play and the YMCA come on site and register people on work time, so they wouldn't have to go down to one of the locations and do the registration process. But at this point, I believe you just walk into Double Play. They have it advertised there that this membership may be available to you if you're a county employee at a discounted rate. And then they just verify whether or not you're on the insurance plan at this point and then register you.
I just got on United Healthcare, and they've got similar plan, but Double Play somehow is able to send out a usage report. And you have
How
to use
often you go to the gym?
4 days a week in order for United Healthcare to keep paying for your plan.
Well, I don't think ours is that, but I think there's some room for
We've
us
seen
to,
annual reports, but not
Yeah.
quite like
Not
that.
monthly ones, huh?
at this point, we only know, as far as I know, the number of people who have registered for a membership each year. And so last year, so at this point, just talking about Lewis County government, 178 employees opted into our insurance plan. And last year, only 28 people utilized the Double Play membership incentive. And when you register as an employee for a membership, yes, you get that extremely discounted rate, but also that just having a membership makes your spouse and your children eligible for reduced membership as well. Yeah. The biometric screenings is one we'd really like to promote as well. So, I mean, you all on an annual basis are provided with like a comprehensive packet of the results, so to speak. I mean, people are screened for blood pressure, heart rate, their O2 stats, BMI, body fat percentage, cholesterol, blood sugar, nicotine usage. There is a cost to the county for people to participate in that, but there's no cost to employees except their time. And last year, in fact, there was even an incentive offered because, as we all know, information is power. Someone could walk into that screening and then walk out finding out that they are pre-diabetic and then could then be referred to our diabetes prevention class at public health and potentially avoid a diabetes diagnosis and the cost of treatment associated with that. They could potentially just, it's preventable in that case. So we could help make those referrals and those changes possible sooner.
Employees and spouses that are on the high deductible plan, in order to get $500 into their health savings account, they have to participate in the biometric screening.
It's a pretty big incentive.
We still did not have 100%.
Now, last year, again, so those 178 employees are eligible. Last year, only 81 employees participated for the county.
Wild.
And that was with
The
a
incentive,
$100 incentive.
at least. Yeah, depending on your insurance plan. Yes.
What's that last ComEd subscription? Is that a?
That's like the mindfulness and meditation related app. So it's got different, so you, if you log in through the Excelis online portal, you can go right in there and register for the Calm app. It's like a mindfulness and meditation app. It's got like different guided meditations, body scans. There's different prompts that's, I know some people listen to before they fall asleep to help them calm
Is
down.
that free off the Excel site?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Exercise for your mind and your mental health.
But- Yeah. So I think there's definitely,
Stressful being filled over the bill.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing.
there's room for us to definitely, I mean, I just shared a couple of utilization numbers with you. There's definitely more we can do to promote these incentives to all of the employees who are currently eligible. But again, our long-term goal is to be able to offer them to everybody because, Brian said, it is ultimately a drop in the bucket compared to some of those premium costs that we're in and claims that we have. New this year, so I mentioned promoting Lee Vance as the county's new EAP. If you're not familiar with Lee, he's a wellness coach, and he was introduced to the county in 2022 when he led some virtual group stress reduction sessions. This led to different group sessions with interested employees to discuss work-life stress and well-being. Following those sessions, he was available for one-on-one meetings as needed or requested. And since those initial connections with Lee, we utilized him for several other services. He provided sessions for Health and Human Services Department regarding post-pandemic work. And then, as I mentioned in December, we led the first Snapchat on burnout. New in 2023, Lee is the county's EAP, or Employee Assistance Program. And so he is able to provide support services to any county employee, whether it be coaching, consulting, and trainings. So that's available to all county employees. And then he's also doing some specific work, some pre and post-pension support at DSS regarding workplace incidents and work-related stress. So this goes, in our opinion, goes hand in hand with wellness. So we are really committed this year to working as collaboratively as we can with Lee to promote his services, but also learn from each other, understanding that the work that Lee provides is confidential. So, but he might just be able to speak to us about maybe trends he's seeing or concerns with employees.
So how many sessions would a county employee be able to go to the
So, yep, so I can answer that. So like a one-on-one session, he would gauge them between like a 3 and a 5 instances because he's not a prescribed therapist. He's not providing therapy to our employees. Again, more of that coaching or consulting. So within those first sessions, he can then help recommend if they should decide to do something further.
We've paid for EAP for years in the past with incredibly low utilization. So the thought with Lee is, let's get somebody that's here that can be on site, bring it to the employees and see if we can, get more utilization. So far, it's worked. Yeah.
Awesome. And then looking at 2024 and beyond, so I spent the last several minutes telling you about our past and our short-term goals. In the future, we'd like to continue to have and improve upon having a healthy and productive workforce. A couple years ago, we talked about the possibility of having a county wellness coordinator, potentially a full-time employee, to track utilization and trends and really keep tabs on all of the resources, but also opportunities that we have here to improve employee health and productivity is really unlimited potential. And so, but that also takes a lot of time and coordination, as you probably imagine. So our hope is to revisit the possibility of maybe having someone do this work full time. We'd like to also fully utilize the resources that we have available. We've got the wellness team, GKG, that helps. I can't even really speak to that. What do they do, Ryan?
They're our consultant for the health plan.
Thank you. Lee as the EAP, the information that we have about employees currently in their health as far as the wellness survey results, employee engagement results, biometric screening results, and health insurance claims, and then all working towards developing a comprehensive wellness plan or incentive structure. We have some initial ideas about what the role of a full-time county wellness coordinator could be, but obviously we've got a ways to go with that.
That would be for someone for us in the hospital.
And if I could jump in on that also, I think to connect that back to the earlier discussion about the budget, so that the committee or the team has a $5,000 budget, that certainly can't pay for a wellness coordinator. But we had this discussion 3 or 4 years ago as our health plan fund balance was at $4 million and growing to $6 million and to $7 million. That there was plenty of money there, and maybe it might make sense to pay for a wellness coordinator without the health plan, with the thought that if we can improve people's wellness, the health plan is going to benefit significantly. The health plan is $16 million, growing to $18 million of annual expenses, so that's a pretty manageable cost if you can decrease your health claims. Got sidetracked and we never really brought that to fruition, and at this point, with the status of the health fund balance, it's not at the top of the agenda, but definitely something, as the wellness team points out, is has some good intent.
Thanks, Sarah. And that's all I had. Just wanted to thank you for your time to just bring some attention to who we are and what we've done, but also what we hope to do. The group is really committed and has really good participation, but everybody has their full-time job, and I'm really grateful to the department heads who have encouraged participation in any and all of the events or education sessions that we've had over the last 5 to 6 years, but we hope to only make things more accessible to employees. We are working with different schedules and commitments, and are trying the best we can to balance all of that while serving everyone. But it also takes having those perspectives and points at the table to bring up so we can try to accommodate them. But
You should incentivize community cup participants, but if they get a biometric screening, they get 5 points. That might break people's debate.
yes, lots we can do with that.
But thank you so much. Anybody have any questions for Anna? Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up for presentations, we have Eric Kirkler to explain IGT payments. Explain them. Yes, in 7 minutes, 3 minutes for questions, and go.
Okay. I think I'm going to stand. I don't want to block Jeff and Jerry. Jeff is our hospital CFO, and he's as knowledgeable about the IGT as I am. So if Jeff, you have any things to jump in on, please do. You have 3 pages I provided you. One is a whole bunch of numbers, which you might need glasses to see, and then a couple of charts. What I'd like to focus on is just explain the concept of the IGT, kind of talk through the funding streams and the inconsistency of funding, and then look at it from a county perspective on the expenses and budget to actual expenses, et cetera. So first thing, again, the concept, and this page with all the numbers does have a couple paragraphs on what this is all about. The IGT, first off, stands for Intergovernmental Transfer. It's this interesting funding mechanism. It goes back forever. So I worked at hospital finance in the late 90s, and the IGT was in place then. Still there. I think it's still pretty much the exact same thing. And it's still a mystery in many ways. But it's federal Medicaid funding that flows through the state to publicly owned hospitals and nursing homes. Many publicly owned nursing homes in New York State, only a few publicly owned hospitals. Lewis County General participates in both. They get funding for both the hospital and the nursing home. The timing is very sporadic, if that's a good term. And you can see that a little bit in the numbers down below. And again, we're not going to go through every number there. The nursing home payments, generally, there's an annual cycle for a nursing home, and they calculate that and provide the nursing home funding pretty regularly on an annual basis. We tend to get a payment in December, and then actually it's split into annual payment, but split into one payment in December, and then a follow-up payment in February or March. So that's been relatively consistent until this year. They've not yet paid out the 2022 December and spring of 2023 payments. So the inconsistency continues. The nursing home has been in the $1 million to $1.2 million range. I'm talking about the county side. We paid out about $1 million to $1.2 million in the last couple of years. Very difficult to estimate, but that would be my estimate for this year. I think Jeff probably doesn't have any different information on that. We would expect that will be about the dollar amount this year, and we have got information that they are processing that last December's and this spring's payment, so we should see that soon. On the hospital side, that's where there's definitely more inconsistency. Again, it's an annual payment calculation, but I think, Jeff, I don't know if you can explain this anymore, I think that the calculation must just take more time and more complexity to determine what each facility is going to get. I don't know if you could add to that or not, but.
Yeah, they estimate our payments, but the final award is based on a DISH audit. So what just happened here a couple weeks ago was they finally did the 2019 DISH audit. So think about that, we're in 2023. So they finalized the 2019 DISH audit, which then produced a payment on our 2019 hospital IGT. So they gave us a couple interim payments in anticipation of an award, but we didn't know the final award until last week. But that's again 2019.
Right, and so I missed a comment earlier on. The reason we're really talking about this is because we saw payment requests come from New York State, 2 of them back in early March. So, and as Jeff just alluded to, those were both hospital payments. The one was for the 2019 final for the hospital, and the second one was interim estimated payments, I think, for 2020, 2021, 2 years. When will they finalize those 2 years, 2020, 2021? Hard to say. But again, that leads to the inconsistency on the hospital payment amounts. As you can see, if you look at the numbers, we had no payments in the 2020-21 year, small adjustments payments of $474,000, $665,000 in the following 2 years. And now this year, with the payments we were required to make this month, $3.6 million, the county just paid out, cleaning up those past year's lessons. So that's just to give you a little feel for the funding flow, which is hard to get your arms around and hard to predict. But when we budget this, both on our side and on the hospital side, it's just guesses, to be perfectly honest. We really just can't have a good feel for what was going to come through from one year to the next. And again, I should step back a little bit. If you look at the second paragraph on this data sheet, basic concept, I didn't give you the basic concept. The hospital will get the funding amount that's calculated, hospital or nursing home funding amount, that's calculated, that's what they're going to receive as a revenue for their healthcare services. The interesting mechanism is that the county has to pay half of that amount the hospital's going to get. And I cannot explain. That's probably some federal law that came about who knows how many decades ago. The hospital gets $1 million. The county has to pay $500,000 into New York State. That percentage changed during COVID. They lowered it to 43.8%. So now hospital gets $1 million. The county pays $438,000. It's an interesting shell game of money. Works out great for the hospital. They should have just received in the last week or so $8.3 million. County paid out $3.6. So I'll move from there just to, again, not to give you every detailed number, but these 2 charts. The first chart and
So Eric, before you leave this page.
Yep.
The budget summary on the bottom.
Yes.
The surplus deficit, does this mean that we're 1.249 million over what we budgeted for this year or
This
under?
fiscal year, over budget. So we
Oh, more, 1.2,
we owe 1.2 more.
yes.
no, we're over budget. So that very last line, 2023, what we have in our county budget for an IGT expense was $2,400,000. That's what's in our current budget. We have paid out $3,649,000. So we are over budget this year on that line item by 1.2 million. I would expect, again, when they provide us a nursing home payment, we definitely, I would say, 600,000, could be as much as another $1 million. So that over budget's going to increase for 2023, I expect.
I think you told us in the board meeting, but we had that money because we had budgeted and not spent it. Am I right?
Well, that's, let me hit the charts really quick, Phil, and then come back to my
Okay.
question, because the last chart kind of touches that.
All right.
So this chart, a little bit busier, is just intended to show you again for about that 10 to 12 year period. The green at the bottom is the county cost. So again, that's the dollars that we've had to pay out. And these numbers are coming straight from this data sheet also. So the green is what the county's paid out over that 12-year period. The orange is our total county expenses. So just wanted to show you what that was like in comparison. And at the very top of the bar in the blue is the percentage of the IGT to our total expenses. So in 2023, the last bar on the right, we're at 6.2% of our budgeted expenses. It's not actual for 2023, but budgeted. And you can see that it's there's no consistent amount to it because of the inconsistency of the IGT payment. So that one's just trying to show you the actual dollar amount to the county and compare that to our actual expenses. The second chart is showing you the budget to actual, which to Larry's and Phil's question is the bottom set of numbers on this page. So budget to actual, and the chart just shows you the last 3 years. I think the numbers on the data page go back to 2017, but I just thought it would help for you to see that, again, partly because of the inability to predict what they're going to pay us, our budgeting is not exact in any way. So if you look at 3 years, we're actually at the very bottom of the data page, $1,700,000 positive from a budget perspective for the IGT. So to look at 1 year is hard because we really just don't know what they're going to pay us. We've had 2 or 3 good years because they haven't paid us. So our budget has been well over what we actually had to pay out. Our budgeted expense has been, let me say that differently, what we had to pay out was much less than what we budgeted.
So do we sweep this account every year?
No, we do not.
Or the money?
No, we do not.
remains in it?
No. So Larry, you're maybe kind of referring to like a reserve where we would set money aside. We don't do that for the IGT. This is just a general fund expense. So if we're under budget, $1 million on this one specific item, that rolls into the general fund. So we talk about our general fund balance is healthy. Over the last 2 to 3 years, $3 million or so of that at least is due to the IGT. So this year, you're kind of seeing a catch-up, right? We're going to have to cover that over budget this year, possibly out of other operations, but if need be, it's got to come out of fund balance, and we put money into fund balance in the last couple of years because we've been below budget. Does that make sense?
So we got $1.7 million in theory in fund balance to offset future IGT payments.
The $1.7 million is a 3-year look.
Right.
And that also is including what we're already over budget this year, the $1.7 million, going back 3 years. That includes the excess this year. And Phil, your comment was that if that remains that amount, that would carry forward into next year and theoretically cover, an overage next year.
For the nursing home.
Yeah, and again, we only have one budget line for the nursing home hospital, so we don't really distinguish the two of them, but
But we do accept payments.
Yeah, I definitely think we'll have nursing home IGT payments this year.
Can you, this isn't quite making sense to me, so looking at the 2022, 2023, it says that the total that we paid was the $665.
Mhm.
But then county budget summary for 2022, I see actuals 1.2 million. I'm just wondering why those numbers aren't the same.
Yeah, good question, Lisa. The first set of numbers in the top is more based on the state fiscal year, and that's why it shows 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. The IGT's based on the state's fiscal year, which is April. So when this chart was set up by my predecessors, it was following a state budget year. What's in our numbers is our calendar year
Okay.
expense. So I think that's the easiest answer I could give you.
Okay.
They should match, but because of the fiscal year overlap.
So, in summary, we're gonna draw down, I get that 1.7 million of the current fund balance is from the accumulation over the last 2 years. And we're going to have to draw down the fund balance, $1.2 million.
The 1.2 million is already included in that 1.7 million, so
Okay, but the 1.7 million is how we got to 45 million.
yes.
So now we're gonna draw down the 25 million, 1.2.
I would suggest maybe think about it a different way. If you take 2023 out of the picture, if our fund balance was X, 25 million at the end of 2022, you built that fund balance prior to this year, okay?
Part of that 25 million, the accumulation included the 1.7 that we were under budget as expense.
Yeah, I don't want to overcomplicate it, but I'll try that again. Take 2023 out of your math.
It's more than 1.7, Larry,
Yeah,
because if you look at the last 3 years, look at 2021 was 1.2, 2022 was 1.6. That's actually 2.8, closer to 2.9 that went into the fund balance that we didn't use. But once you take out the 1.2 from 2023, theoretically, you've still got 1.7.
Let's forget about the history. The fund balance is 25 million.
Yes.
We are gonna have to draw down the fund balance, 1.2 million, to cover the IGT.
Yes.
And I think something to reiterate is
I was just gonna say, if you look at the monthly budget report that DSS submits on my reports, the IGT amount is always there. So you know what we're paying, whether it's zero, and you'll see that historical if you look at the DSS budget report that I submit every month.
The IGT comes out of the DSS budget.
So it's there every month for you to be able to see and track whether there's payments or not.
It comes out of
It's because many people.
And to reiterate again, it's revenue on the hospital side. It's a very good thing. I don't know what percentage of your budget it is, but it's a good number in their budget. It's an expense in our budget. So,
Could you just, in this last 5 minutes, I thought I heard you say the hospital got around $8 million.
correct.
Did we?
Okay, sure. And then the nursing home will get additional funds this year probably.
Yes, definitely expect that's going to be processed, will be processed in the near future.
It's one of those things as a small county, and this amount fluctuates so much. I mean, look at Eric's sheet there. I mean, it really determines what our annual spend looks like once it's reconciled with the state. So it's something we have to contend with. At this point, I feel that our team, me, Eric, Jeff, and Jerry, understand it well enough that we're budgeting appropriately, but it's always a surprise. I mean, as long as we're not caught flat-footed, I think we'll be okay. So.
Yeah, I think I think there was a number of years ago, 5-6 years ago, there was a serious dollar amount paid out. I think that might have even been more years of correction that the state finished at one time. as long as the state stays on a somewhat consistent basis, we can have a little bit more accurate budget. If they get behind and, we go even 2 or 3 years without making any payments, or 4 years, and then they catch up, that's when it will really be a significant number and even, again, harder to plan.
I think the way we look at this philosophically is let's budget the average, try to pin the average, because you don't want to budget the average for 4 years and pay out less and then say, uh-oh, we're gonna have a big year, and then charge the taxpayers again by putting in a double year, right? Because we've already charged. So we just gotta ride the wave out, is the way I look at it.
And I think that makes me think on the right-hand side of the data, you can see the dollar amounts of the IGT cost versus total general fund expenses. And over the 12 years, it's 8% of our annual expenses on average, 8%. So that's, that's a pretty good factor you can look at. I take that to look at our property tax rate. So 8% of our property tax rate is 7.54. 8% of that is 60 cents. So 60 cents on the dollar of our property tax rate over that 10 to 12 year period is based on this IGT.
And we are paying ourselves.
Correct. You want to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not sure the ramifications. If we don't pay in, the hospital's not going to get their money. So I think that's the simple concept. I mean, I don't know if they penalize you in any other way, but
Yeah.
they're not going to get their money if we do not pay into the system.
My understanding is there's counties that leave money on the table. So they only pay in what they budgeted that year, and the excess, dollar for dollar, they leave on the table.
Yeah, and
I don't see, that doesn't make any sense.
no, think about that. If we had some sort of financial constraints and we chose not to pay the full amount, so they don't get the full amount, that doesn't make any sense to me.
But the only counties that have an IGT payment are the ones that own the hospital. Right?
Yeah, and there might be some city hospitals that are probably funded and get the IGT.
Nursing homes too.
Yeah, there's probably a number of county-owned nursing homes still. So it's not a large pool, but we're definitely unusual from a hospital standpoint.
Another standpoint.
Yes, not a simple concept. I mean, the numbers are simple in that we have to pay into the state and the county gets about double that amount. That's simple to think about. We'll track it the best we can from a budget perspective, and so New York State tells us we have to do it.
Okay, any other questions for Eric?
So you heard both Eric and Jeff refer to either dish audit or dish payments. And if you understand what that means, you understand why this program exists. So DISH stands for disproportionate share hospital. So the Medicaid disproportionate share hospital payments are statutorily required payments intended to offset the hospital's uncompensated care costs to improve access for Medicaid and uninsured patients, as well as the financial stability of a safety net hospital. So we are a safety net hospital, and we have higher share of uncompensated and Medicaid requirements. Now, on the hospital side, there are other funding sources that make its way into our budget, which is when Jeff referred to the DISH audit, takes that into account and actually lowers the IGT payment. The nursing home is very stable. There aren't wild swings from year to year, and Eric's numbers show that. So it's to really help support the safety net hospital, cover Medicaid access, and cover uncompensated care. Hopefully that clarifies some of.
Clear as mud, Jerry.
Yeah, there's a little bit of mud, yes.
But it's a spreadsheet though, so you should like this.
Yeah, I like it.
That's what the data sheet's really for. It's for Bill.
Even though Bill's not on my committee.
Bill got it, this time.
Thanks, Jerry.
The rest of the
Okay.
struggle.
I think we can move on to draft resolutions. Sandra?
The first one is appropriating funds into the community services accounts in the amount of $162,808 from New York State OASIS related to the New York State opioid litigation settlements.
Pat, can you speak on the Oasis just briefly?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
So, the OASIS money is originating from the New York State opioid settlement funds. The funds came into Oasis. They have been divvied up between all the counties in New York State, and the amount we got was based on certain statistics that they monitored. We will be getting these dollars once a year, I want to say for 16 years. Oasis required a plan, and the plan had to be based on the approved expenditures, which is pretty much similar across the board. So essentially what Community Services Board did is we convened our mental health and substance use committees. We kind of talked about what it is our county needs to be able to support the patients that this would be indicated for. Essentially what we came down to is to really support the transportation issues, which is an ongoing huge issue within our county. So that plan went in. I'm waiting to hear from them to make sure it's okay. The other things that we're going to identify that we're also in need is supporting school districts in obtaining their nalox boxes within the school buildings, and then related training. And this would also support a public service announcement such as we did for mental health, and it will be focused on stigma and substance use. The payment, this year's payment, is actually for 2022 and 2023. And essentially, although the amounts will vary each year, and that's for all the revenue streams, that has to do with attorney fees and things like that. But what Moises said is we can likely count on about half that annually. And then again, reporting will happen, and if there's any change in the plans or additional plans, we would submit that annually to Oasis for review and approval.
Perfect, thanks, Pat. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Carries.
Appointing Celia Bango of Harrisville, New York to fill the vacancy of District Number 1 representative on the Lewis County Office for Aging Advisory Council effective April 5th, 2023 through December 31st, 2025.
Any discussion?
Could I just make a comment?
Sure.
You offered me. Celia is going to be a very good person on that advisory council. She replaces a lady named Barb Ward, who's been there forever and done an extremely good job and very community-minded in aging as well as many other things as well. And she's a really nice person and going to be replaced by a really nice person as well.
Coming from Harrisville, they've got to be good staff.
Gotta be good.
Any other comments? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay.
Be tough to top that.
I know, I can't get the best of her though.
Carries.
Approving the 2023 Resource Allocation Plan with New York State Office of Children and Family Services for funding in the amount of $29,610.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. Carries. And we do not have any motions or need for executive session. So I will make a motion to adjourn if I can get a second. Thank you.
Meeting together. The first thing is approval of the minutes. They've been sent out. Can I get a motion to approve them as they are written or any modifications? So moved. Bill, second.
I'll second.
Jessica? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we start off, we've got a presentation of property redevelopment initiatives from Ricky Davis and Cheyenne Sterry.
Great, thanks, Tom. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the chairman and Ryan for inviting us to speak today. Typically, when we're speaking in front of you all, we're representing the IDA, but today we're representing our sister organization, the LCDC, regarding property redevelopment initiatives within Lewis County. So just a brief agenda of what we will be going through today. I'll be talking about the purpose of the presentation, why we're here today, how we got to this point, a little bit of history, 3 pathways to property redevelopment and solutions for those property redevelopment pathways, our process, so the potential LCDC county partnership moving forward, and then potential future initiatives. So purpose of today's presentation, we're here to discuss the potential role of the Lewis County Development Corporation in commercial property redevelopment within Lewis County, and identify a path forward on a county LCDC partnership as a mechanism and solution to property redevelopment within Lewis County. So if we think about how we got here, we are an organization that thrives and prioritizes having a strategy, a strategic plan for any sort of initiative that we intend to launch. So we knew that as IDA and LCDC, we knew that property redevelopment was going to be a priority in our future strategy, but in what way, shape, or form. So in thinking about the LCDC, so we're not talking about the IDA efforts, we're just talking about LCDC efforts. Think about past efforts that the LCDC has been a part of. The LCDC took ownership of the Lions Falls Mill over 10 years ago and worked with their partners for 10 plus years to demolish that mill site and clean it up. I do want to add that we were able to sell approximately half of that site to Black River Valley Natural for their future expansion. So that includes the current building that they are located in, as well as some land behind. So that's been a good success for Lewis County Development Corporation in that project as a whole. We think about some current efforts that we are currently working on. The Glenfield School marketing effort. This is something that was this committee that prioritized the Glenfield School marketing as a priority for 2023. So we are in the midst of that process. We are really looking forward to getting some great proposals from legitimate developers on a good end use for that building. That again is a partnership between the county and the LCDC. We launched the Vacant Property Revitalization Program, which is a grant program to incentivize existing property owners to do something with their vacant spaces. Again, partnership between county and the LCDC. That was launched in February. We already have 3 applications submitted, and round 1 applications are due April 7th. And then the Lions Falls School. So a lot of these conversations have really stemmed around this building in particular. So obviously this is a building that the community really cares about and really sees as an asset for the Lions Falls community. But really, we cannot do anything with that building until the county finishes the foreclosure process. And a few months ago, the board voted to enter into that process. So we can't apply any funding or apply for any grants until that whole process is taken care of. So really, that whole situation spearheaded the conversations and the initiative that we're presenting on today. So because of those conversations, we also took a deep dive into the law in which local development corporations were created under. So section 1411 of the New York State not-for-profit law basically states that that law allows us to construct, acquire, rehabilitate, and improve industrial sites or manufacturing plants. So essentially, local development corporations were created in New York State to quote unquote lessen the burdens of government and be a mechanism and solution to property redevelopment in New York State. You're gonna say something? Okay.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Okay, no interrupting. So with all of those conversations and many, many conversations with our partners here at the county, we have identified 3 property redevelopment pathways and solutions to those pathways. So the first is property owners who are motivated to redevelop their property. We want to incentivize that. We want to empower them. The second pathway is properties that are not well maintained but should be. So I think we can all think about a building in our community that should have some work done to it. It should be maintained, but it just isn't. So how do we motivate those business building owners to do something? And then the third pathway is targeting kind of the zombie properties, the properties that are in foreclosure, and the properties that need extreme environmental remediation. So this is where the LCDC county partnership is going to continue. We're identifying this third pathway. So this time I'm going to pass it over to Cheyenne to talk about the solutions.
Yeah, and just to be clear, we're talking about commercial properties, industrial properties, not residential in this kind of forum. So when we talk about property owners who are motivated to develop their property or redevelop it, often it's going to come down to financial resources or just project management type resources. And so things that are in place already, a vacant property revitalization program, there's other grants we can try to connect them with either through our office or through planning. A lot of the time it's just project planning and guidance, holding their hands a little bit. Some of the stuff we do every day, but property owners do not. There's planning reuse studies, or we can help connect them to a developer if they just want to sell the property for a higher and better use. Properties that are not well maintained, this is where we're asking codes enforcement, village zoning, other avenues of usually government to be a little bit more assertive. What we need to do in this category is either drive these properties in that are in this bucket one way or the other. If we can do things to help motivate the owners, that's ideal. But if it's just an issue of we haven't acted on something that needs to be acted on, that would push them into a situation where we can do something as a community about the property, then that's a situation we're willing to work with too. On the zombie type properties, that's where the LCDC and the county can partner to help remediate or demo, remarket these properties. But we've really spent a lot of time kind of mapping out what does that process look like, and it's going to be a little bit different. There's nuances to each project, but we're really trying to focus in on how do we take care of those and how do we do it quicker. The LCDC board has worked diligently forever, it seems like, right, Larry? The Lions Falls Mills, but we really want to throw some administrative staff weight behind getting more of these projects done. So this is where I nerded out. So kind of a little bit. Broke it down a little bit, each category, to try to identify the yellow pieces where the LCDC can play in the game, the green pieces where it's more county planning, those pieces. And then Naturally Lewis is kind of the umbrella economic development agency where the staff will be living in a couple months here, where they can operate. So with the properties with motivated owners, we're usually looking at, can they self-fund? Sometimes it's other resources, but often it comes down to money. If the answer is yes, then we're happy to coach them all day at Naturally Lewis and connect them. If they're not, then that's where LCDC can come in, county planning partners on reuse studies, other grants, and Naturally Lewis can partner with regional loan funds, developers, that kind of thing. We kind of already talked through that middle bucket. We just need to find out if we can motivate that owner or not. A lot of that comes down to relationships and just talking to them. The zombie properties is, like I said, that's where it gets a little bit more complicated, and where we've had to put some more time and thought into what does that process look like, and how do we identify which properties are going to be a priority. I think Lions Falls School is a clear priority, but as we work through that and want to do more of these projects, we're gonna have to come up with, some matrix identifiers on what's a priority. It can't be just whoever's yelling the loudest. So if they're not a priority, Lewis County Planning, they can offer coaching. Naturally Lewis can help with that. But if it's not considered a priority, if it's off the beaten track and not really hurting anybody or just doesn't rise to the top of the bucket, then we think about, is the community or the municipality sits in, are they engaged in the process? Do they want to see it revitalized, or is it just kind of a hazard that needs to come down? And Lewis County can come in those situations, like the Lions Falls School, foreclose, maybe complete demo, or maybe it's just transferring up to the LCDC, so the LCDC can then partner to clean up those properties, hand over the marketing to Naturally Lewis to get a developer or get a new owner who wants to have a business or industry in that location. Any questions on that? Basically,
How long did you lay wait putting that together?
this is so fun. Just ask Joan, how emails I shot her.
Nice job.
Yeah, it is a good one.
So kind of wrapping up, where do we go from here? The LCDC is looking for their role to be taking ownership of the properties when the county forecloses on them, assisting in the environmental cleanup, and then marketing to the developers. I say LCDC, the staff is Naturally Lewis, so we kind of treat it as a holistic approach. The county role would be providing planning assistance, and then maybe funding opportunities through general funds, grant opportunities, just seeding that process to jumpstart it. And then we're still working on what exactly that looks like. And there will be more work on each nuanced property that we look at. But we strongly are suggesting that we partner with the county on this to kind of attack some of these properties and get ahead of it. These questions.
So if the county helped to fund it, then ultimately it would get sold, would the county get money back?
So that's where we would look to make it a revolving fund, so we're not coming to ask you for money every time we get a project. We'd like to build that, so any income from the property goes right back into the next property. And that just kind of revolves and we keep using it to do more and more properties.
So if you got a one-time funding, that in theory would take care of it.
Yeah, and we don't.
And I understand it's only in theory.
Yeah, right. In theory, that's what we'd love to see happen. We'd like to build this up so that there's a dedicated person with the support of Naturally Lewis, but a dedicated person working on properties.
I think
Well,
the
sure. Well, I was just gonna say, that fund could also cover things. Most of these grants are reimbursement grants.
Right.
So this fund that we're talking about that would, pay for expenses could also cover things like, for instance, Lions Falls, Village of Lions Falls put the application in for Restore New York, I think it is. There's two of them, I get confused. But anyways, it's a reimbursement grant, and they have to take that project all the way to the end before they can apply for, could be $2 million. Any of our, most of our municipalities underneath the county, the towns and the villages don't have that kind of resource. So this fund would also cover that kind of a issue for the village, the municipalities underneath this. So what I'm thinking, in addition to what they're talking about here. But they're probably gonna be involved, the whole ball of wax comes together at some point.
Hate to say it, but I agree with you.
I'll leave now.
Cheyenne, could I just add something too? And just to continue that, when we met with planning and Naturally Lewis and the we talked about the fact how the county's ability to perhaps, fund it and be able to have one of the other jurisdictions, local jurisdictions, to be able to make that application for grant funding, knowing that the county is behind them to help with payment up front, made us feel that it's showing that not only is there a partnership between the county and the LCDC, but the local jurisdiction also has some skin in the game and is working with us to make sure that their local area is being developed and there's a buy-in by everybody, even if it's not funding, which we know they may not have, but putting that application in for $2 million, boy, is that a big deal in helping for us to make the decision now to go forward and foreclose now, because we were reluctant to do so, knowing that there were so many environmental issues involved in remediating that property. So it's a partnership with not just the two of us, but with, and to me, that's one of the criteria you're gonna look at for other properties, is the local jurisdiction gonna buy in with us to fix up these zombies.
Right.
That's two in a row, I agree with you too.
Oh my gosh,
And
let me
that's-
drop the mic.
And that's why Lions Club School has risen to the top, because the village is very, very motivated to be a partner in that process.
One thing that I would add is that when when these properties get to their conclusion, where either they become unsafe structures, or they burn down, or they collapse, it is the county taxpayers that are on the hook anyway. So it behooves us, and the situation that I think of is the brick block building return. That's one where we not only lost a beautiful piece of historical architecture for that community, but we had to pay to clean it up anyway. So if we had been thinking about this, identifying those priorities sooner in the process, we could have saved a beautiful, brick building for return, and probably at the same or similar cost of what we spent on an empty lot anyway. So,
It would have still been on a tactical.
right.
I've got a question. If there's commercial properties that have fallen down, gone beyond repair, would you be involved in like a cleanup, so we end up with a vacant lot instead of a dilapidated building also?
Yeah, that's a decision that's gonna have to be made on a case-by-case basis, whether it's a demo project or it's a revitalization project.
Is this something, I'm not sure how many commercial properties come up countywide for tax foreclosure. Is this something that could be kind of an automatic thing, that if it's a commercial property, that the county would look at that and say, is it worthwhile just turning it over and putting it back in the auction? Or maybe cleaning it up and then putting it back to an auction, so we don't keep these zombie properties just perpetuating?
I think, this process that we're discussing now is vision going forward, because up to this point, things have stayed on the foreclosure list because we were apprehensive about the environmental issues or whatever, so we didn't dare touch it. Now that we're starting to come together with this outline that Cheyenne put together, we have the means to get to an end, either, hopefully a restoration of the building, where previously we had no methodology to get there.
I'm just thinking, I can think of buildings in my area that are beyond repair. In usefulness, just not used for those type of buildings, and they're getting dangerous. They come up. It would be nice to see them cleaned up instead of just.
So the first question for those are, is the property owner motivated or not? And then we can work from there. Because the county right now for motivated property owners has more incentives available and funding than ever before. The facade program, the vacant property program, community development fund, which is coming online here in the year. There's a lots of opportunities, more than ever before. So maybe we just gotta grab some of these folks and see if we can get them engaged. And if not, then honestly, it'd be better if they stop paying their taxes and get into the foreclosure process. Sitting on it as it slowly falls apart is the worst option.
Could I just add that there's also grant funding for some of these that could potentially be turned into housing, low and moderate income housing, there's a ton of grants for those. But again, it comes down to motivated.
So I think a key is for us to create those relationships with the communities and those building owners, identify what bucket they fall into and, what are the services we can provide from there.
Could you email that presentation
Yeah.
to us? Particularly that flow chart, I looked at
Wait, now we're gonna flow chart film.
Cops, Lisa.
Any other questions?
So just one other comment I had on I think it's the middle group, the unmotivated owners where they've been cited by codes. And I know this has been a priority of Ryan's over the past year, who's been screaming and yelling to make these things happen. So for an instance, there's a property within the village that we, codes cited them, no response, we brought them to court, we showed up. First thing I told the owner was, we have the LCDC, we have Naturally Lewis, we have a lot of groups you can go to help with, see where you can, if you fall into any of these buckets, for assistance to help clean up the property. So I don't know if the person called, I'll talk to you later about it, but that's our game plan with the code enforcement as well, is to get these people the help they need to keep these commercial buildings looking good and maximizing apartments and decent apartments that people can rent and do all of those things. So,
Yeah, the ultimate end goal is to get motivated building owners. And so it's all about creating relationships, providing the programming, the services, the funding, the incentives to help them with that. Because we don't, in all reality, we don't want to take on hundreds of properties to redevelop. We want the building owners to be motivated. So that's priority.
But through the DRI process, and through the relationships that Brady and her team have built, we have had really legitimate developers that know what they're doing come and meet with us over the last couple of years. And you know what the answer is? There's no properties available, which is shocking when you look around. They should be available. But we have a large section of buildings that are in the middle bucket of unmotivated. So like Cheyenne said, we got to get them pushing one way or the other.
Yeah, and a lot of this going forward is going to be developing the kind of inventory of properties. I'm sure each of you can probably list 5 at least within your jurisdiction that are on your radar, and then let's know where they're at and see what we can do to help.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Brittany.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Next on the agenda, we have Connor, IT update.
I'll try to keep it short, and then we got one more presentation after me. I'm mainly here just to pat you guys on the back, pat my team on the back, and say thank you to you guys and to Coughlin and to my team, because I think we're looking at a very nice new website. And so I'm proud to show it off to you guys today, show off some new functionality, and I'll just dive right into it. First and foremost, it is mobile friendly. Anyone that's browsing on their phone should be able to navigate and find content easily. Again, when you talk about accessibility, people don't always have their own computer or laptop at home, but they probably have a cell phone. So if they can get the information on their cell phone and actually read the information and get what they need, that's very important. The other thing is that this is compliant to the American Disabilities Act. So pretty much every corner of the website should be navigable via a keyboard. Some people, if they can't use a mouse, then they're only using a keyboard or some sort of assistive technology, they should be able to get where they need to go. If someone is visually impaired or blind, a screen reader or that type of technology can go through our website, read what's on the page back to the person, and it should be understandable to them as to what information is on the page. So this is just a cool step forward as far as how we're presenting the information to the public and being transparent with the information. Along that note, you will notice that there are some design decisions that were made that you might say, okay, but why do our upcoming events, why doesn't it show up on a calendar like it used to? Well, calendars aren't very accessible in terms of screen reading technology of telling the user that's visually impaired where they are on the calendar and what events are on what dates. But the way that it's set up on the site, it should be easy to understand and digest, though maybe it's not as intuitive as a calendar, but at least it's accessible to everybody. I will, just for navigation purposes, it's good for you guys to know if people are asking where information is. So right here at the very top, there is a button for all departments, and it's alphabetized. So hopefully that's a good starting point if you're looking for a particular department. We have this big menu that as you click into it, also it's just a logical breakdown of all those departments. So community development, general services, human services, public safety, and public works. And there's even some external links to economic development, Chamber of Commerce, Lewis County health system, and so on and so forth. And then we do have some good hot links here right on the home page to get to the legislative meeting minutes, job postings, and your property taxes, the whole gamut of government programs and things that need to be done. So I will highlight the legislative meetings as one of the big buttons that we have. We're trying to make this information as easy to find and access as possible. So right there on the home page, you've got your legislative meetings as one of the hot buttons. You get here and okay, well, even today's committee meetings, if you wanted to go find all the agendas, you've got your general service committee agenda, you've got your health and human services agenda, your finance and rules. Afterwards, we can upload the meeting minutes and they'll be right here as well.
What about the videos? We have a place for that?
There is a place for videos. So if we go to the March board meeting, for that one, we can see the agendas and notices. Still need to upload the minutes for that. And then the live stream recording from that video is right there on that same page. So all of the content for every meeting should be condensed into one place so that if someone's trying to figure out what's happening in their local government, hopefully it's fairly easy to find for them.
Good. Is this live now?
This is live.
So Connor, one of the objectives was to build a website that would also host like the towns and villages. So would there be a link on the top to go to underlying those municipalities?
Sure, great question.
How would that work?
We're definitely, phase 2 and 3 is to extend this out to towns and villages, and we're working with Cassie Buell on what that is going to look like, because I think there's some grant funding there for shared services and making that offering. But whether they have their own domain name, so if they already have something, that's great. If not, they can tag along and be Krogan.lewiscounty.ny.gov or whatever they want to be. And then I'm sure within our website, we'll have some sort of navigation to the smaller municipalities. And again, try to make it easy for people to find the information they need if you're looking for township or village, or if you're looking for county.
We haven't had any sign up yet or participate yet.
Right.
It has ability to do that.
Yeah, we haven't, that's something we'll be looking at now that we've gone live on the main site, is we'll be diving into those smaller sub-sites. One last cool feature I did want to highlight was the job postings. Lord willing, we should be able to apply online to a position at Lewis County. So that's groundbreaking in terms of what Lewis County's been able to do. And we're excited to do that. We will be working towards forms for civil service exams as well. The only thing holding that up is taking the payments online for signing up for those exams. So we're not quite sure how that's all going to work out yet, but we want to be able to make it so people that aren't forced to deliver their applications by hand or have to mail it in. If you can fill it all out here, it's great. And on the back end, it's supposed to make it work a lot easier for Caitlin and all the departments to see the applicants that come in, manage who's who, and send the information to the people that need to see it. So unless people have questions, I'll leave it at that and let you guys explore the site on your own.
Go back to job postings.
Sure.
There's more than 2 current postings, we just haven't transferred all of the current ones over, so today's the first day.
Okay.
I kind of heard you say there's only 2, but that's,
There are
yes.
more than 2.
We're transferring them over.
Any other questions for Connor? If not, thank you very much, Connor.
Good job, Connor.
Thank you. That's good.
All right, next we have a presentation from Candy Aiken on Part N of the 2024 executive budget. Candy?
So I was asked to present today regarding the 2024 New York State Executive Budget, the Revenue Budget Part N. This specifically impacts Lewis County in several ways because Part N has to do with the solar and wind model that the state put out last year, that there's currently a court case and a court's automatic stay placed on using the model. Part N is a new bill being introduced as part of the budget. So that's what we'll be going over today. So Part N has to do with real property tax law, section 575B, and the model. The model was established as part of the governor's 2021 budget and was supposed to take place on the assessments for the 2022 assessment year. This was to be used for all solar and wind energy systems with a capacity of 1 megawatt or larger. It was a mandated assessed value that was set by the model. We had to use it according to the way RBTL 575B was written. The model was challenged in court and a stay was issued. So as of the 2022 assessment roll, we put all the values back to what they were before we used the model. And as of this time, we are still using the assessed values that the assessors have placed on the roll and not the model. Part N was introduced on February 1st when the governor put out her executive budget. They've added section 1A, which removes the requirement for the solar and wind energy system appraisal model to comply with the provisions of the SAPA rules. So they've also added the section 2, part 8, to add appraisal models and discount rates to the list of products that the state provides that are currently not required to follow the SAPA guidelines, which are the equalization rates, the class ratios, special equalization rates. Those are all produced per real property tax law, but are not required to follow the SAPA perceived SAPA requirements. So the litigation, the proceedings argue that the state failed to promulgate the model as required under SAPA. Their main argument is that they didn't follow the procedures as far as notifying the New York State Assessors Association, the Association of Real Property County Directors, all of the involved partners, NYSERDA. So that is the basis of the court case right now, is the failure to follow the requirements of SAPA. The state immediately filed a motion to dismiss the case. In December, a ruling came down by the court that denied their decision, denied their motion to dismiss and upheld the temporary stay. So then part N was, we feel, specifically written to amend the SAPA definition to not include the appraisal model. And it was, they're tricky enough to make it retroactive to 2021. Therefore, if this goes through, it will predate the model and therefore make the model required to be used because they've met all of the requirements. And basically, by doing that, the model will, like the litigation that's currently going on in Harry County, will likely be a moot point and the state will be lifted. And unless another case is presented, we will end up using this model for the 2023 assessment rule. The litigation opposition for the petitioners, they were supposed to have their answer in by April 5th, but they've extended that. The courts have extended it to April 10th to see if Part N passes with the revenue budget. So the wind and how this can impact us is we currently have 4 active IDA wind pilots that create almost $4.7 million in revenue for the county, towns, and school districts. We have 8 active IDA solar pilots that generate about $131,000, and approximately $158,000 is raised for fire protection taxes based on the solar assessments. So if this Part N passes with the budget, as long as our pilots that are based on a per megawatt value and not an assessed value, it should not have an effect on our pilot payments. However, if the pilot is not based on a per megawatt value and based on an assessment, it has the potential to impact our pilot payments. Fire districts are going to take the brunt of this. They'll realize the burden of the change in the assessed value.
Wouldn't the wind companies have an incentive to try to break their pilot agreements and leverage the state's new formula?
They could, if the values come in lower than the pilot payment amounts, yes.
But we don't know what those formulas are yet.
They've taken the model off the website, and they say they're working on updating the discounted cash rates. So we have no way of knowing what the new model is going to come in at. And most likely they won't release that until we see whether or not Part N passes.
So they're shoving policy into the budget and not letting people purposely hiding the policy implications.
Exactly, yes. It's very clear what they're trying to do.
And Candy, also, when you could play around with their model, when you did that, didn't it show that the assessed value came in less than what we had on many of the pilots? So Brian is right, we're probably gonna, some of those companies may in fact then challenge the pilot.
Wind wasn't as bad as solar, was my recollection.
Yeah.
Well, the Copenhagen wind, Flat Rock wind wasn't as bad, but that's an older wind farm too. So their assessments have been coming down anyways as part of the pilot. But Copenhagen wind stands to lose, stands to lose about 91 million in assessed value if this pilot model goes, if, I shouldn't say pilot, if this model, valuation model goes through. In 2022, for the 2023 tax, Copenhagen Wind paid approximately $70,500 in fire protection tax. From what I've calculated, with the decrease in the assessed value, it's about a 78% decrease. So if I take that same calculation in, they're looking at dropping their assessments, therefore their taxes, by about $55,000 to the fire departments in the town of Denmark. So that would reduce their fire protection tax down to like $15,500 from $70,000.
What's the impetus of this? Why do they want to do this?
They want to do this because the governor and the government are pushing for this green energy deal, so they are making the incentives very favorable to the developers.
And taking it out of our pocket.
Yes, this would be another mandate, basically, that
Our pocket to the solar or wind.
to the developers, yes,
Not the state's pocket, the county's pocket.
right? Yes,
Not just the county, the town.
right, the county,
Right,
the
good
towns,
point.
school districts, everybody, yes.
Well, it's basically an initiative to have upstate New York provide all the energy necessary to electrify New York City.
Right. No room for windmills down
They
there.
don't care about us up here, they're just trying to generate enough electricity to meet their climate goals.
Well, the state has already usurped land use authority on large energy.
Large, yeah,
So-
they've taken it right out of the local jurisdiction's hands on these large pilot, or arrays, yeah. And New York City, Long Island is gonna be getting an ocean-based wind farm, and the people with $1 million homes aren't very happy about it.
Gee, that's too
You
bad.
know, it's gonna ruin their landscape.
I'm glad you understand this, Ann, because even after you explained it, I'm not sure I do.
Well,
I'm glad somebody does.
I don't wholly understand it, but it is,
I can just simplify.
Scott would.
I'm the supervisor for the town of Denmark, and I can tell you the impact that it's gonna have on our fire districts that have wind towers in their district. It's gonna take Casterland, Fire Protection District 221 from 94 cents a thousand to $1.67. It's gonna take, the Village of Copenhagen and Fire District 223 from 48 cents a thousand to $1.01, which is a 206% increase. So it's a 71% increase for Casterland, and it's a 206% increase for the people that are in Fire Protection District 223. And Candy and I worked through these numbers last year, so it's a huge impact on us. We're one of the last that actually has a special district tax in their pilot, and they cannot do it, according to our attorney. So that's the impact to our taxpayers. That's not counting the 91 million for the total 40, it's only 40 towers. I say only, but it's still $91 million reduction in assessed value, so.
Can I throw this out there? Why, and I think the fire tax is very important, but the risk to me, the far greater risk, is the undermining of the pilot agreements.
Right.
As a whole. So, yeah, sure, the assessments right off the bat would hit the fire. But if you're a wind developer with a pilot agreement, and the state is saying, this is how you value your asset, and it's less than a pilot agreement, they're gonna break that agreement immediately and go on the assessment rules. And that, the risk to us in the school districts, which, by the way, the County of Lewis and Copenhagen School District and Bible Academy have taken out debt and bonds based on long-term commitments from these agencies. So this is a very serious problem that the state is putting us in. Potentially, we don't know, because we don't know what their assessments are going to be.
right. For the short term, all but the flat roof wind are on a per megawatt basis. So we wouldn't have to use the model values to see if they're gonna be paying more under the pilot or by the assessed value because they're under a per megawatt fee pilot.
But
But,
to Ryan's point, if
right, that's not gonna stop them from breaking the pilot and arguing it and trying to renegotiate.
All pilots say at any point, you can always choose to go on the tax roll. And if the state says this is what your value is on the tax roll,
Right.
and it's less, then you're gonna have incentive to do that.
Right.
Brittany, am I right on that?
I mean, the short answer is yes. Other ways we can try to seek funding from them, but yeah, it's gonna be challenging.
That was all I had on that, unless anybody had any questions.
I'd like to say thank you, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
A couple of things to add. Our elected state officials are on top of this issue. In fact, thanks to our town supervisors that have been on top of this as well. We have a meeting in Watertown at the State House Building Friday at 2:00 with Senator Walczyk and Assemblyman Ken Blankenbush. We've also informed NISAC about this issue, although I will admit I think we have more advocacy to do with NISAC. And then I've got to call into Steve Todd at BOCES because I don't think the schools are fully understanding the implications of this yet either. So, but 2:00 at the State House Building on the 11th floor, we just need to let them know ahead of time how many people would like to attend. So whoever is interested from the county is welcome to attend that on Friday. And then the last piece is, if there is another lawsuit put forward to try to get a stay on this issue, unfortunately, the county and towns don't have standing in court to sue the state. We are an entity of the state. We cannot sue the state. So what has happened is the Schoharie County Board of Supervisors, as individuals, as taxpayers, sued the state last time to move this forward. If a similar lawsuit moves forward again, or if the existing lawsuit is appealed, our town supervisors have asked if the county would support folks joining as taxpayers and helping fund the legal bills. So Schoharie County, for example, the county government helped the legal bills of the board, the members of their board of supervisors who, as individuals, sued. So that's something that they've asked us to consider. Did I get that mostly right, guys?
So we have a resolution that we'll be looking at later, and I and legislator Lovecare are looking for an amendment to that. Basically, just to include that if this does come around and our town supervisors do join personally, individually with the litigation, that Lewis County as government, even though we can't join, basically earmark, say, $10,000 to reimburse the legal fees that our municipalities may be incurring. Even though we can't do it ourselves, we can help them out financially on that end.
But we as legislators could individually join. Is that accurate?
So why not?
Yeah, I think
Sign me up.
And on that, speaking with Candy, and got some full background, there's 277 individual windmills in Lewis County. Going through the numbers, 6 active solar arrays and 2 being constructed, so it's gone from, Maple Ridge is the biggest at 195 wind towers. But we're at 277 counting Roaring Brook, number 3 wind, and the solar arrays. Yeah, it's really blossomed into a large number, and that large number then impacts a larger number, which is a pilot agreement. So it's a huge impact.
tremendous impact. Any questions or comments anymore from Candy?
Thanks, Candy.
Thank you very much, Candy, appreciate it.
Ryan, I will be there Friday. So.
Could you, anybody who wants to attend, like Sandra know.
Okay, I guess we're ready to go to resolutions.
The first docket is setting a public hearing for Lewis County Micro Enterprise Assistance Program, New York State CDBG project number 636 ME 980-21, administered by the Lewis County IDA. Homeownership Program, New York State CDBG project number 636 HO 133-20, administered by Snowbelt Housing. And Housing Rehabilitation Program, New York State CDBG project number 636 HR 134-20, administered by Snowbelt Housing, to be held on Tuesday, May 2nd, 2023 at 5:00 p.m.
Any questions or comments on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Requesting New York State home rule legislation to continue sales tax to county.
Questions or comments?
Can I make a quick comment, Tom? The state budget includes the provision that all counties will be granted a 4-year extension so that we don't have to continue to go every year to the state legislature. The governor's budget included this proposal, and the Assembly and Senate budget have backed it up. So it's very likely that it'll become law and we won't need to do this again. But in the event that something falls through in the budget negotiations and it's not included, we don't want to be caught flat-footed and not having requested our renewal.
Thank you very much. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Awarding bid and authorizing agreement with Absolute Auctions and Realty for professional auctioneer services for the county's in-rem tax foreclosure auctions.
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Urging Governor Hochul and the New York State Public Service Commission to dismiss NYSEG and RG&E rate hikes requests and to correct the billing problems before rate hikes are considered.
Questions or comments? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Opposing Governor Hochul's proposed Part N of the state fiscal year 24 executive revenue budget pertaining to ratification of the prior solar and wind energy system appraisal model published by the Department of Taxation and Finance in 2021.
Any questions or comments?
This is the one I think that I would put forward a motion to amend it to include that we set aside $10,000 to reimburse individuals in Lewis County that joined any type of litigation regarding this.
I'll second that.
Do we want to include that in, because this is going to go to the governor's office. So do we want to include that amendment or just make it a separate motion?
We can prepare a second resolution if you want and
Separate.
detail
I
it
think
a
it's
little
separate,
bit
but
more.
not to
Yeah.
confuse it, I think it's separate
Yeah.
resolution.
She's reading them again.
We're on a roll. Taking years.
All right,
So I'll withdraw my motion and proceed with number 5, and then I'll make a motion to add a number 6.
Okay. So back to number 5, I guess, any other questions or comments on that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. And then we have a motion for the $10,000 reimbursement.
Yes. So I'd make a motion that we earmark $10,000 essentially to reimburse any individual from Lewis County or multiple people from Lewis County for a total of $10,000 to reimburse any type of litigation expense as far as legal fees and disbursements.
Okay. Motion made by Jessica, second by Phil.
Yep.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion is carried.
I do have another motion. The motion is to authorize the insurance renewal package policy from NYMER at an annual cost of $240,786 $1,000,000.16 from April 5th, 2023 to April 5th, 2024.
I'll make that motion, second by Josh. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Other business, anything? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn. Jeff, second by Jessica. So you're adjourned.
I have my list of how, tickets or just send it to me or what's the best way you're gonna do this? I know.
Tickets are good, it's better than getting tickets. It's like I mean, a lot of stuff that you don't.
Show off.
If you want a meeting?
No, I mean, I just
If you wanna sit down and make sure.
different sheets and stuff, I don't eventually listen to that.
Make sure you're like comfortable putting in your position.
But no, I was just looking at a couple of the different things and just playing around with other people's takes.
Got my pen ready.